Well, the first thing you want to do is, when you hold a crystal, you must experience the crystal as an extension of your being, and not something that's separate from you that you're holding in your hand.
Like an object.
The energies that flow through your system will flow right in and through that crystal. When you're holding crystal, the energetics of your connective tissues throughout the body are immediately, not even gradually, immediately connecting into the vibrational spectrum of that crystal. It's almost like saying to you that the source of the consciousness that continuously creates and recreates your incarnation is derived through the crystalline kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you hold that crystal, the consciousness is within your body. It's more of the perhaps subconscious, in this case, but the consciousness all through your system immediately connects to it. It's almost like hooking up to a source, like that. And what you want to be able to do is feel the flow of the energies through your system moving and integrating with the flow of energies that are coming into and moving through the crystal as well. And do you know the difference between looking directly at something versus a gazing?
Mm-hmm.
In that gazing, there's a letting go. There's a relaxing back into self, into your own, in a sense. And in a sense, if you think about it, when you're gazing, relaxing back within, you're connecting more into the heart center, and you're seeing more through the consciousness that is from the heart than from here.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking from here and trying to see it, you really can struggle in quite absurd ways. What you want to do is see from the heart, because that means that you're coupling the seeing with feeling simultaneously. You don't see from the heart without feeling. And that's an interesting thing, in the world around you. When you see a beggar on the street, or somebody in trouble before you in some ways, or suffering, you're trained, the more that your people become conditioned to seeing it, the way that the conditioning takes root is by removing people more and more away from perception from the heart and keeping it perception from here. So you want to actually look and gaze onto the crystal from the consciousness, from the heart, and you'll know that you're doing it or not if you cannot feel. Now that doesn't mean that you have to feel to the extent that you eventually would like to with acute perception, but you should be able to be registering feeling of one sort or another. And the depth and precision of that feeling should develop as you're doing that. Now the thing about the crystal when you're gazing into the crystal is crystals communicate back to you through reflecting. There's a reflecting back onto you. And so when you're looking into the crystal, there's almost a similarity in a way of looking into a mirror, except that you're conditioned for the mirror to, at least theoretically, be reflecting back to you what your perception already is, or would be, for what you'd be seeing as your own reflection, right? But here what it reflects to you is aspects of your truth and your journey, our information systems that relate to what's necessary, what's needed for you. So for example, rarely are you going to find three people, or two people really, two beings, hold the same crystal and get exactly the same thing as a message from it, or a reflection from it. And for the skeptical person, they might say, well, doesn't that prove to you I can give this same crystal to 5 different people, and they're going to give me completely different stories about what this crystal is imprinted and saying to them. And we would say, it better be that way, because they are 5 different beings. And what the crystal is going to do is actually become a reflection of their truth. Now, you can have a crystal encoded with important information, but you're not going to get the information that you're not ready for. you're not going to get the information that's not capable of resonating with what is in you and moving through you. You see? So, and the ways in which, the colour spectrums of a different one crystal to another do obviously have important significance when they're natural colours in the crystal. And the ways in which the colours affect oftentimes relate to, like for example, the quartz does embody a broad spectrum of colour. It's not just obviously the clear. Other more specific colour spectrums, like say for your amethyst, takes you right into a very specific domain of the spiritual worlds from which the vibrational movement that relates to amethyst comes through. Another way of putting it is, all these colour spectrums originate from the space in our perception of the kingdom and the angelic realms. Where you're going to in that realm, and connecting to, is going to be somewhat, at least, guided by the colour. So you try to get a feel for how this one colour connects you to one place within the angelic and another colour to another. Also, within crystalline consciousness, there is innate music. It's not obviously the music that you're used to connecting with audibly. It would be that which you would at least theoretically understand as the music of the spheres. So if you don't see your image directly reflected or hear the crystal talking to you and so forth, listen and try to hear the movements of the planets and the stars and the celestial. The movement of life through the celestial. Music of the spheres. Very, very beautifully enhanced. That's why when someone is working with those crystalline bowls, there can be a wonderful space created that actually can elevate the peoples in the room to be able to have a direct connection to a direct experience of the music of the spheres. And what that will do is actually open up the range of appreciation that you would have for music as it is audibly experienced in its traditional forms, as well as this a whole new appreciation of this notion of the music of the spheres. So I mean, it's something you can go on and on with it. Another thing is, if you're working with a crystal that's like this here, you have a key point of reference, obviously. Always there's a still point within every crystal. You want to find it. But the point of reference here is of paramount importance. And because what's moving out from the crystal comes through that most strongly. Doesn't mean it doesn't come in other ways too.
But it's like its focus?
It's the strongest line of emanation. But like in a crystal like this, you're having emanations all around it too. It's not just that, but this is your center line in a sense. It's the determination of the center line of connection for the crystal. When you finish working with the crystal, you should be able to experience that you have reconfigured and reconditioned the crystalline energies within your own system. That's your connective tissues again, and your bone system as well. And it also affects elements that are carried within the blood.